Hey everybody, I'm Alicia.
And I'm Kodiak.
And we live full-time in our converted van.
She has a 1996 Ford E150, and her name is Dava.
So let's give you the tour. So first things first, let's talk about where we sleep. We have a full-sized 5-inch foam mattress. While Sage enjoys being on our bed, especially while we're driving and while she's just hanging out, she doesn't like to sleep with us, so we created her very own cubby. It has her bed and all of her toys in there. Right next to it, we have access to our back storage. This is just a little cutout area where we keep our most important stored items, like our camera bag, our 2 chairs, our kitchen gear that doesn't fit under our sink, as well as our medicine, sunscreen, bug spray, and other miscellaneous items that we need on a day-to-day basis. Right above Sage's cubby, we have a pull-out table. It's kind of like our dining room table. We set up a seat on the opposite side, as well as the seat over the heater, and it sits 2 almost perfectly. Bon appetit! Up here we have our clock. Over here we have our map. Kodiak and I both had a map. We started a new map just for the van, and that's why we only have like 10 states crossed off so far. We also have these twinkly lights for ambiance. Very important. We have my orchid over here, which is adjusting slightly poorly to Vanlife. So a lot of our items we ended up velcroing up onto the walls, which I would highly suggest. However, if you're going to use Velcro, know that your windows get insanely hot, and so Velcro does not stick to your windows as the sticky stuff slides off the windows, which is super unhelpful. So we talked about sleep, let's talk about food. First things first, I have this tiny little produce hammock, which has kind of already fallen apart, but that's okay. It still holds produce, so it's good with me. Also, we have about 6 different types of good full utensils. These are extremely useful. They uphold to an extreme heat. Next, we have our cabinet, which is full of dry goods as well as chips, teas, and all of our plates and glasses.
So now let's talk about the electrical system. The thing that daunts most people when they decide they're gonna do a self-build. So we have 200 watts of solar on the roof, as well as 200 amp hours of battery in the back. What we do with that is through a 3000 watt inverter, we power our mini fridge with a freezer. We also have 2 different outlets so that we can charge up to 4 things. We never ever do, but we have it. Our water system is incredibly simple. It's a 12-volt water pump that pulls water out of a 7-gallon freshwater tank through a household faucet, which did need some jimmy rigging to actually hook up to one water outlet, down through the infamous salad bowl sink, and down into the 7-gallon gray water tank. Incredibly simple. Originally, we had a 2-burner stove, and it took up vast majority of the countertop space. We ended up switching to a 1-burner stove because, let's be honest, we don't need 2 burners. We just didn't. Even when we were cooking, it wasn't that big of a deal. What fuels that is a 20-pound propane tank. It's not in the cab. It's under our bed. We basically have it ran up through so that we can put this stove away on long trips. Otherwise, it just kind of lives on our countertop. One of the other infamous items in van life is a rooftop vent fan. We didn't opt for that mainly because I didn't want to cut a hole in a fiberglass top. So instead, what we did is I hooked up computer fans to pull air in through the windows. It's actually really, really nice because I can have them run almost 24/7 and they take almost no power. And they are incredibly low profile, so nobody knows or notices the fact that we have a fan running. One of the big things is we didn't want to be without lights if our battery died. So we have these hockey puck lights that are literally AA charged. The really nice thing about these is they actually came with a self remote, so we can step in and turn lights on and turn lights off, and super easy. Over here on our countertop we have 2 cutting boards. Yes, 2 is incredibly nice, because if we want to eat something on the bed, we have a little place to set up and we don't have to clean a cutting board to do that. So to the left of our main pots and pans holder, we have all of our dry goods. That's everything that doesn't need to be refrigerated, as well as our utensils like our forks and our knives and such, as well as all of our books. Under our sink, we have all of our cooking utensils, so pots, pans. That's also where our gray water and freshwater tank is stored. Any glass bottles or anything prone to breaking, because there's a spot in between the door and the freshwater and gray water tank that it doesn't rattle around anywhere near as much. Now let's talk about, where do our clothes go? So all of our clothes are stored up above the cab in this space. They're stored in a variety of packing cubes. From here over is my clothes, and from here all the way to the other side of the cab is Alicia's. Needless to say, she has more clothes than I do. So everything in this van is insulated with polyboard. So we have an inch of polyboard up here, we have an inch of polyboard on the sides. As you can see, have a ton of windows in the van, so that's mainly our biggest heat sink. Our floor, which we walk on in front of the kitchen, also has an inch of polyboard under it, but underneath the bed does not. In our closet, we have no ISO board, mainly because the clothes already act as an insulation barrier, so it's not that big of a deal.
Are you a happy puppy?
We have 2 essential oil diffusers, as well as a hang tag that has completely lost its scent. On my right side here, I have my phone holder, which is just a pop socket plug holder, a speaker for when we are miles and miles away from any radio. Deadpool Bob Ross, never leading us astray. We also have a permanent full-time backup cam up here. That really is helpful because the rearview mirror is good for nothing but looking at Sage on our bed as we drive. Now let's talk about underbed storage. In our underbed storage, it's pretty simple. We have 2 backpacking backpacks, 5-gallon tank for our diesel heater, and 25-pound propane tank. And my BMX bike fits back there as well. Tucks up underneath the bed pretty nice. Pretty simple. These are our window coverings. On one side they have cactuses. On the other side it's just a quilted padded material. Basically Velcro to Velcro. They don't look the prettiest, but they help keep the warmth in. We haven't had any light leaking issues anywhere in the van. We also have a high performance cooler as well. That's for those big deep trips when you need someplace other than the fridge to hold your beer. To be honest, it mainly holds journals and drawing notebooks, but shh, it's for beer. Absolutely essential is a fold-out table, because eating in your van like a hippie is great, but eating outside like a true hippie is even better. Thank you guys for coming along, watching. If you've watched this far, you're freaking awesome. If you haven't, I don't blame you, but they don't get to see this part. The van took mainly about 6 months to build, and it was full-time me building it. Overall, best decision ever? Anything to say?
Nope. Love Vanlife. We'll probably do another build eventually in the future at some point. But for right now, this works for us.
Yeah? Okay, guys. Till the next video.